I'm so excited to introduce our first guest speaker today. Bob Burg is a sought-after speaker at company, leaderships, and sales conferences, sharing the platform with everyone in today's business, from leaders to broadcast personalities, and even a former US president. Bob is the author of a number of books on sales, marketing, and influence, with total book sales well over 1 million copies. His book, The Go-Giver, co-authored with John David Mann, has sold over 500,000 copies worldwide and has also been translated into 21 different languages. It's also been re-released in an expanded version with a foreword from Huffington Post founder and publisher Arianna Huffington. Bob is an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to the amount of people that they serve. He is also an unapologetic animal fanatic and serves on the board of trustees of Furry Friends Adoption and Clinic in his hometown of Jupiter, Florida. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today, Bob.
Thank you, Nicole. Great to be with you.
Thanks. So I've asked Bob here today to share with you some of his inspiration around The Go-Giver. You know, when I first read the book, I was totally blown away and inspired. I've struggled with running a business in the corporate kind of world, feeling like the model that I wanted to use really wasn't a fit. So to read this book and see that there's other people out there that wanted to run their businesses the same way and actually really promoted that kind of business, I was truly moved. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
So I want to jump right in and start out with, you know, a lot of our viewers are probably wondering and thinking they're not quite in the entrepreneurial world, but they want to know, does the Go-Giver still apply to them?
Sure, because while we talk about entrepreneurship in terms of being that person who maybe started a business, took a risk, they invested their own money or investors' money, but basically they're calling their own shots in terms of being that person who ultimately is responsible for bringing value to their customers, and only by doing that are they going to be able to profit. You know, it's really the same thing when you're working for someone else, only your customers are your coworkers, your supervisor if you have one, your team members if you're leading a team. It's the person who employs you, and ultimately it's the end user of the company's products and services, whether directly or indirectly. So it still comes down to understanding that it's incumbent upon you to find ways to be of value to others, to be of value to the marketplace. Because in the, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know, we understand that no one's going to buy from us because we have a quota to meet, or because we'd like the money, or because we're really nice people who believe in what we do. Well, it's the same when you work for someone else. And maybe you're not an entrepreneur, but you're an intrapreneur. You're an entrepreneur within someone else's organization. But remember, your boss, the ultimate employer, didn't hire you because you needed a job or because you needed the money or you're a really nice person. They hired you, and they're keeping you because they see you as being more in market value to them than what they're paying, which makes sense. So, you know, it's the same thing. We still have to place that focus on giving value to others.
And I think that's an amazing philosophy to run all areas of your life with, for sure. And the people that can apply that even to their job or career that they're currently in, I bet they're going to see far more success in that area than if they were just going to work thinking that they were just there to get a paycheck. That if they can really be the best employee or of the best service, they're creating value for themselves as well, where they're kind of making themselves an indisposable asset, where they're going to want to stay there. Their boss is going to want to keep them. They're going to be indisposable. So that's an amazing practice there.
Yeah, what happens is, regardless of what you're doing, and Wallace D. Wattles talked about this in his classic 1915 book, The Science of Getting Rich. Wherever you are, be of most value that you can possibly be. Find ways to create immense value. Either you're going to be recognized within your own company or and move up, or someone somewhere else is going to recognize you, or you're going to get the skills needed for when you break out on your own, whatever. As long as you maintain being what he called bigger than your current place, okay? That's when you've created the environment for advancement.
And really just the doors are going to open for all kinds of great opportunities for you, I think, when you do that and keep focusing on adding value.
Sure. Well, you know, one of the best examples of that was a woman by the name of Kat Cole. And Kat worked when she was 17 years old, she began working at a restaurant. She was the daughter of a single mom who was bringing up two daughters. And so to help make ends meet, she was hosting at a restaurant. And what she would do is she would find ways to help everyone else. If something needed cleaning, she'd clean. If something needed to be, you know, she couldn't do things like serve drinks, of course, because she was 17. She'd help out in the kitchen or whatever she could do. And when she was 18, she was able to start waiting on tables, but now she'd help out everywhere. If it was at the bar, if it was at the restaurant, if it was cleaning this, if it was bussing this. And she was about to go to college, or she was starting to go to college to be an electrical engineer. But she made herself so valuable at this restaurant that they kept promoting her. And I think it was when she was 23, if I've got this right, as this restaurant was starting to expand all over, they actually sent her to Australia to open up some of the different shops there. Now, not only was it her first time going to Australia, it was her first time on an airplane. And so, and she was doing that. So she kept working her way up within this company. And eventually the company was selling to a big conglomerate. And she actually was about to resign and go somewhere else. But being someone of such someone who always focused on adding value to the team, she stayed around another 6 months to help them through the process because she knew this company inside out. Well, all the 20 or 21, 22 firms, the capital firms that were looking to invest, they got to know her. And they got to see her value in what she did. Well, she ended up being president of Cinnabon. By the time she was, I think, just 30 or 31, 32, you may have seen her on the what's Undercover Bosses. She was featured on that. And now at the ripe old age, I think 35 or 36, she's actually president of Focus Brands, which owns Cinnabons and 4 or 5 other major franchises. So that's a person who, again, was an intrapreneur working within a company at an entry-level position, certainly. But from the moment she did, she started finding ways to make herself valuable to that marketplace.
And what an amazing story. I mean, it just goes to show that it doesn't matter where you're starting. If you really apply yourself and just focus on giving that value, that you'll be amazed by the opportunities that can show up in your life for you.
Really one of my favorite stories. Yeah.
Yeah, like cool places that you probably never even thought that you were going to go. So let's stay on the topic of value for a minute. You know, there's a lot of people out there that maybe they're just starting their businesses or they've been in business for a while but are struggling. How can they add more value to their customers without really costing them too much money, especially in these tough economic times that we find ourselves in?
Sure. Well, you know, you look at what really is value. How do you define it? And how is value different from price? Because this is really important. You see, price is a dollar amount. It's a dollar figure. It's finite. It simply is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. What do they see about this product or service, this concept, this idea, what have you, that brings so much worth to them? Because value is always in the eyes of the beholder, right? In the prospect's mind. It's not about what we find to be of value, they find to be of value. So what does affect them in such a way that they will willingly exchange their money for this value and be ecstatic that they did, while you make a very healthy profit? You know, quickly, a very quick example. Let's say someone hires an accountant to do their taxes, and this accountant charges $1,000. That's their fee or their price. But what value is this accountant giving in exchange that makes it so worthwhile for this other person? Well, through their studying, through their hard work, through their determination, through their getting to know the customer, the client, through the way they treat them and make them feel and get to know them. They are able to save that client $5,000 in taxes. They also save them countless hours of work that they would have to do themselves, freeing them up. They also provide them with the security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly. So we see again that while price is finite, value is both concrete in terms of that $5,000 savings, but it's also conceptual in terms of the peace of mind, which probably holds more value than, even all that money saved. So what this accountant did is they gave well over $5,000 in value in exchange for $1,000 price or fee. So the customer feels great about it, right? They received much more value than what they paid. And the accountant made a very, very healthy profit. And so both parties came out ahead. In fact, that's the essence of a free market-based exchange. Free market being no one is forced to do business with anyone else. Both parties do so on their own volition. And that is both the buyer and the seller come away from the transaction better off than they were before the transaction. That's the difference between price and value. Now, your great question, how do you add value or communicate that value, especially in such a competitive marketplace? Well, it's for the very reason, the competitive marketplace, that we must do that. Here's the issue. Most products and services today, they work. They work pretty well. Technology has leveled off the playing field. There's not much of a difference between this widget and that widget, between this product and this product and this service and this service. And if the customer, the potential customer, doesn't see any significant difference, it's always going to come down to who has the lowest price. And I often say that unless your last name is Walmart, trying to make low price your unique selling proposition is not a profitable, it's not a rewarding, it's not a fun way to do business. When you sell on price, you're a commodity. When you sell on value, you're a resource. So it's incumbent upon you to be able to communicate that value. But how, if everything's a commodity? Because it's you who is the value. You are the value. There are probably hundreds of ways to communicate that additional value, but they tend to come down to 5, what we call elements of value. And those are excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, and appreciation. And to the degree that you are able to communicate one or more of those, hopefully all 5, at every touch point with that customer, from when you just meet them, to building the relationship, to the sales process, to the servicing process, through the referral process, and the touch points with them, communicate that kind of value. That's how you take money out of the equation, and you make yourself that person they want to do business with.
Absolutely. I mean, I think of all the times that I've been in the position where I had to go find something or, buy a product or have somebody service. And it's the more that you kind of practice these strategies on your own in your own business and even other areas of your life, I find now that I'm going out and purchasing different things, I'm actually looking for people that are practicing the same sort of business model. And I had an interesting story that it kind of really shocked me because I've never experienced this, but I thought what a really cool way to really draw your customers back in is I had to find a chair. And I actually went to a discount place, found a beautiful chair, chatted with the sales lady for a little bit. She was super nice and walked out of there thinking like, she's not going to remember me next time I go back in or whatever, because it's a big chain store. A week later, I actually got a thank you card in the mail from her. And I was like, just like a beautiful gesture to do that. And now, because there's so many different salespeople out there, I'm definitely going to go back to her. Like, she's going to be the first person that I look up whenever I need something else.
Exactly. And we're huge believers in that. And that's part of the element of value we call appreciation. And that is to not just have appreciation for your customers and your prospects, communicate that appreciation. And the best way to do so is with a handwritten, personalized note, not an email, although that's better than nothing, not a text, but an actual handwritten, personalized note, and you will be unforgettable to that person.
Well, she definitely made her mark on me, and I was just so appreciative to have that from her. Yeah. All right. So can you give us a quick overview of the 5 laws that you and John discuss in your book?
Sure, the laws themselves are the laws of value, which we just looked at. Then there's compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. The law of compensation says your income is determined by how much more, by how many people whose lives you touch, and how many people you serve and how well you serve them. Let me repeat that again. Law number two, the law of compensation says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number one says to continue to give more in value than you take in payment, through that exceptional customer experience, law number two tells us that the more people whose lives we touch with that exceptional value, the more money with which will be rewarded. In the story, because the Go-Giver itself is a business parable, in the story, the CEO, Nicole Martin, explained to Joe, the protege of the story, that law number one, the law of value, that represents your potential income. But it's not enough to serve just one person wonderfully, right? Law number two is all about the impact you make because of the number of people whose lives you touch. So you could say exceptional value plus significant reach equals very high compensation. Law number three is the law of influence. And this one says that your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, this one sounds a bit counterintuitive when you first hear it. But then you think about it, all the great leaders, top influencers, most successful salespeople, entrepreneurs, this is simply how they run their lives and conduct their business. They're always looking for ways to make other people's lives better. Now, let me qualify this, if I may, because I think this can easily be confused, and it's very important. When we say place the other person's interests first, we certainly don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at all. It's simply that, as Joe learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of business is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you and others than by genuinely and authentically moving from what we call an I focus or me focus to an other focus, looking for ways to bring value to others, to, as Sam, one of the mentors, advised Joe, make your win all about the other person's win. And as you do that continually, constantly, and you gain a reputation as such, wow, you become, you develop that, what we call that army of personal walking ambassadors. Law 4 is the law of authenticity, which simply says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. In the story, one of the mentors, Deborah, shared a lesson she learned in her career, and that is that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are indeed all very, very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. Now, when you do, when you, as we say, show up as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you, right? They know, like, and trust you. They feel safe with you. They're much more likely to want to be in relationship with you, to want to do business with you, and to want to refer you to others. So it's important that we make sure that we have the self-confidence and that we understand, that real market value that we bring to the table in order to be able to lead through authenticity. And then law number 5 is the law of receptivity. And this one sort of brings it all home. This one says that the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. This means nothing more than that we both breathe out and we breathe in. It's not one or the other. We breathe out carbon dioxide, we breathe in oxygen. We breathe out, which is giving, we breathe in, which is receiving. Contrary to the messages that we receive from all around us, giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. it's not one or the other. It's not that you're a giver or a receiver. You're a giver and a receiver. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. So we need to be able to allow ourselves to receive. Now, the focus is on the giving, or the giving of value. Okay, that's the focus, because that's where it starts. But when we've earned the right, when we've focused on providing value, we've touched a lot of lives, we've built networks, we've stayed real, congruent. Now we've earned the right to receive. What we need to do is allow it. And because of the messages, the negative messages about money and prosperity and about business and about all these things, it can be easy for that to mess with our heads at an unconscious level and kind of sometimes sabotage ourselves from receiving. So we need to make sure that our head is in the right place.
Absolutely. Like, you bring up a really good point. I know so many of us, it's hard for us to receive sometimes because we're so used to doing everything for everybody else or just wanting to give, that we don't see that, allowing somebody else to give to us, that's giving them that amazing feeling that we feel when we give too. So we really need to be able to encourage that and open ourselves up to receiving as well. And the other thing that I love that you brought up was authenticity. I am seeing that so much in the marketplace today with different businesses, that it really doesn't matter what kind of business that you're running. I'm seeing that the focus is on being your authentic self, that people are promoting that. They're really encouraging their employees or their business to reflect that, because that's what draws the consumer in, or that's what builds good customer relationships. And again, people want to do business with the people that they trust. And if you're authentic, then your client's going to see that right away.
Absolutely.
And it's just going to lead to bigger and better things for you. So I appreciate those 5 laws that you shared. I think they're an amazing staple for everybody to have in their business and really, really practice those. The other thing that you talked a little bit about that I see quite a bit in the marketplace today, or even going back to just being an employee, is that there are 3 universal laws for working that you bring up in the book: to survive, to save, and to serve. But most people are stuck focusing on that surviving. So how can we shift that focus to serving, especially when a lot of people are finding that they're struggling already in their employment, and that maybe that the harder they work, the more effort they put into things, they can kind of see their dreams actually moving further away from them instead of coming back closer. So how can we shift that to going to a service mentality instead?
Well, remember, one reason that we can work hard and still not get ahead financially, there's a couple of reasons. One, we may be working hard doing things incorrectly. Okay, so it's very important that we know what we're supposed to be doing and we do those things well. If you're following a system that you've learned, and of course you help coach people on this, so hopefully they're listening to you. When they're doing things the right way and they're working hard, they're going to progress. Okay, but then there's also, we know that people can make more money than they ever were before, and yet they still find themselves spending more than they're taking in. Right. So you've also got to understand money, and you've got to understand how it works. And that is, you cannot spend more than you take in and be prosperous. An individual cannot do it. A municipality can't do it. A state or province can't do it. And a country can't do it. Okay. These are universal economic laws. So we've got to respect that. We've got to respect how money works and what that is. And so, begin to study investing, and not study investing in terms of, this stock and that stock. No, but just a very basic plan on how to live on less money, to pay. We've all heard it before: pay yourself first, and have it taken out automatic. Do those things that creates the context for you to go from survival to saving. Okay, so you can start saving meaning investing as well. And as you do that, you can also serve. Now, you don't have to wait until, when we say serve, that doesn't mean you have to wait until you have a lot of money or a lot of time to serve, because you're never going to get to that point where you have it now. Okay, it never, that's just, again. So no, and it's not one or the other. You are surviving, but you're also saving, and you're doing that through serving. because to the degree that you're serving your customers the right way, that's the degree you're going to be bringing in more money, which you can save and which you can invest, and which you can then use to serve even more. And again, it creates that, instead of a vicious cycle, it's a delightful cycle in which more comes in. So thus you can do more with that. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. So what I hear you saying is that a lot of us get stuck in the survival because maybe our spending habits aren't reflecting our income, and we really need to identify why we're stuck in the survival mode and
Sure.
make those little changes and
Mhm.
educate ourselves so that we can start getting out of that. And so true. So many of us, I know I'm guilty of this for sure. We're like, we're just going to wait a little bit until the situation's right, or I do have a little bit more money, and then I can start doing some of the things that I want to do. And then maybe I can give back a little bit more. But we don't have to wait, that we can actually start doing whatever we can do right now. And
Mhm.
then it's just going to start building on top
Mhm.
on top of each other. And pretty soon we're going to be moving towards those goals and dreams instead of feeling like they're being pushed away from us just by making those little
Exactly.
shifts. Amazing. Thank you. So, my final question that I have is, what advice could you give someone who absolutely believes in the principles of the go giver, but they might find themselves in a career or work environment that is really solely focused on the bottom line and meeting quotas, that performance is rewarded before customer service and client care? How can we kind of implement the go giver strategies when we're feeling so much of that pressure from an employer or whatever career that we might be in right now? How can we change that?
Yeah, there are actually a couple different answers to that. And again, it depends on the company, because sometimes even within those companies, you can still focus on providing value to others, whether it's with a smile, a kind word, that, whatever it happens to be, in which you're not going to get in trouble for with the company, but you can still help please the customer. So you're doing the right thing. Now, the easy thing to say is, well, you shouldn't be working there. Go do something else. But you know what? Sometimes you're somewhere, you need the money, you've got a family to support. You can't. Again, I'm not saying. I'm assuming that the company in question isn't doing anything illegal or anything. Obviously, but I'm saying no. They're
Right.
just a company that has the bottom, that runs it through the bottom line. That's it. And those companies, by the way, tend to be not the most successful companies. If you want to if you want a company to be sustainably profitable, you've got to do it through these 5 laws. These are not 5 laws that John David Mann and I made up. These are the laws that have driven financially sound companies and individuals since there have been market economies. Because remember, you've got to find ways to give more in value than what that person's paying, or they're not going to buy from you. Again, this is in a free market-based society. When it's not free market involved, those rules don't count. Okay. And so, because obviously if people are forced to do business with one another, it doesn't matter how about, you've got to be able to serve a lot of people. You've got to place the other person's interest first. Because remember, they're buying for their reasons, not for your reasons. So sometimes you can be at a company that, yes, they're driven by the bottom line, but it just is what it is. And if you feel it's worthwhile working there because you've got bills to pay, and maybe meanwhile you're looking for another job that's more congruent with your values, that's fine. But do not quit this job until you have another one lined up. Sometimes within the personal development field, people hear something and they just take it so literally, oh yeah, he's right, I shouldn't be working for a place, I'm going to quit today, and meanwhile you've got a mortgage payment. No, don't do that. So, do what you have to do the best job where you are to provide the most value you can. Meanwhile, look for another place that is more congruent with your values, because you're probably not going to change company culture if it is a big company. Okay. Now, you can lead from anywhere, but a culture comes from the top down. Okay. So so in this case, to answer your question, you do the best you can where you are. If it's worth staying with this job where you can, in your own way, provide value to the customers and client, great. If not, you may want to find another job that with a company that's more congruent with your values, but don't quit this one until you have that one lined up.
Absolutely. And again, I think you brought up another key point. I heard you say that, there's some companies that they're focused on the bottom line. They might make a lot of money right away and be super successful, but you talk about sustainable business, and that's definitely not a sustainable
No, it's
business
not.
model in the free market, where
Mhm.
it may look really good to us on the outside that they're doing really well, but you don't know where they're going to be a couple of years down the road.
No, and we see companies going out of business all the time that we think are doing very well, right? You know, and it happens,
Absolutely.
especially today, more and more.
But it just really drives home that importance of really practicing the 5 laws, and that if you do that, you're going to build a sustainable business that's going to be
Mhm.
there for you for the long haul. And I think that's a great point that you made there.
Thank you.
Is there any other insight that you would like to share with us today?
Well, I think it's just a matter of bringing to the table your best self, uh, learning the information, being really good at what you do. You know, those core companies, as my friend Joe Calloway says, and he wrote a book. I love the title. Be the best at what matters most, right? And so it means you really know what you're doing. You know that when you deal with others, your main goal is to make them feel genuinely good about themselves. You're always looking for ways to bring just phenomenal value to the marketplace in a consistent, ongoing way. And I think when we do that, we're acting congruently within our own values, and we can always be happy. And happiness is really nothing more than that ongoing, genuine, good feeling, peace of mind, if you will, knowing that we're living congruently with our values.
Absolutely. Again, your wisdom that you share with us is just, it applies to every area in your life, I think. And The Go Giver is such an amazing book that has a wide variety of uses, from right from business to different areas of your life. If you just practice that concept of really putting other people's need first, delivering value, and just being a giver, it's all going to come back to you in amazing ways. And you're going to feel good about yourself. You're going to be happier during the day. You're going to love what you get to do during your working career, whatever you choose to do, or even making those shifts and making your job a more enjoyable place. If we can really just apply that, there's an unlimited potential of what we can do with that and success that we can see. I think your book is amazing, and I encourage everybody to go out there and buy it or find it and read it. I have kind of a funny story that I'd like to share on how I came to have the Go Giver. It was actually at my office Christmas party this last year. We have a Chinese gift exchange every year, and I seen it. It's like, oh, that looks really cool. I think I'm a reader. I like reading all the different kinds of books. So I decided that I had to have it. And it came down between like me and I think there was 4 others that we fought over this book for probably about a half an hour. It just kept going around and around. And
Wow.
finally I got it. And the next day I read it and was just totally blown away by everything. That I brought it back into the office the next week. I'm like, I'm not going to lend this to you guys. You guys need to go out there and buy it for yourself and keep it, because it's going to change your business. And we've passed it around our office now, and everybody has found amazing success, even
Wow.
just in feeling better with dealing with their customers, and knowing that, the stuff that we believe in our core, that there are other people out there practicing the same thing. So it's a sense of really being a part of a community and really wanting to make a difference and changing the way that everybody does business. It's an amazing book, and the philosophies in it are just incredible. And I thank you for sharing that with us, and
Oh,
also being a part of this summit for me. I know that you have a really busy schedule, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. And I look forward to much more amazing work that you have to share with us down the road in the future. So again, thank you for taking the time being here. I really appreciate that.
oh, my pleasure. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for having me with you.
Thank you.